Good evening or good morning, everyone. I decided to do this stream because I want to continue developing RealWorld Paint, the icon editor and the cursor editor, and I need feedback from users because I want to do the best software for you. In the past, I've often worked in a slightly different way. My goal was to make the best software for me, and I think it will be better if we change this approach. And I'd like to show you what I've been working on during the last 2 or 3 months. And these are things that were almost complete in the old version, but needed some finishing. So here you can see the old version of RealWorld Paint, and the new version is in the background. And what I want to talk today about is this layers panel. In the old version, each layer had some small icons here, FX, if it had a style applied to it, and this icon indicated that the layer is disabled, means not visible. If you right-click on it, you have the option to enable it and see it on the canvas. You also have this small panel here that controls the opacity of the layer, so you can make the layer partially transparent and blending mode here. So let's compare this to the new version. This small panel is gone in the new version. You don't have to right click anymore if you want to enable and disable the layer. You have this small checkbox here and you just click it. It is not usual. Usually you don't need this opacity slider, but if you need it, you can quickly enable it and it will show up here. And this is something new that was not in the old version. This list shows you what styles are applied to this layer. So I have just added this opacity style, and that allows me to control the opacity of this layer. I have to enable it, of course. So this is similar to the old version, but it does not take any space when you are not using the opacity effect. I can disable it quickly. And these are the other styles that are applied to this layer. We are talking about this skull layer. I can disable and enable individual styles. So you will notice the changes. The shadow disappeared. Now the bevel effect is gone. Now the black outline disappears. Now this I don't know how to say it. The shadows, internal shadows on the skull, and now we see the layer without any style. So you can show and hide these styles. In the old version, when you wanted to modify the styles, you had to click on this effects button and then on modify styles, and here this is how it looked in the old version. So it was kind of hidden from the normal view of the application. In the new version you can see that I can select, for example, this shadow effect, and I can modify its parameters in the panel on the right side of the window. So for example, I can change the shadow to red, and I can, let's say, increase its size so that you can see it, maybe also the density of the shadow. So everything is live, and you can modify each of these effects as you want. So my goal with this is to bring the styles to the front, to your eyes. They should be in your face, because they are pretty powerful technique. And one of my goals is to allow you to do non-destructive editing. Everything should be modifiable at any time. Because let me maybe use something and modify this layer. Maybe I will erase part of this skull, and as I do this, you can see that the styles are continuously applied. So you can modify everything at any time. Another improvement to this layer panel is the ability to group layers. You can see that this is a group containing 3 layers. You can hide and show them and enable them all at once. So this flower consists of 3 layers. 2 layers, sorry, 2 layers, just these 2. And I can apply effects on individual layers, and I can also apply effects to the group as a whole. And the layer group also has a blending mode. It acts just like a normal layer, but it has some substructure. Yeah, some comments, let me read. The skull, yeah. Yes, I'm still using Windows 7 because I think it looks the best and has less spyware and the features that I don't really like. So, where was I? So, layer styles are visible in this layers panel. You can do layer groups. You can, for example, remove the group, and this will just place the individual layers that were inside the group directly in the list of layers. And when I select these 2 layers and choose to group them, it will recreate the group. So there is one more thing that I want to show you, and yes, I have a very large group here, and this is the signpost. That's almost everything, and it has a projected shadow applied to it, and that is a layer style, a layer effect that you can see when I disable and enable it, it will add this projected shadow to the image. And everything is working as you expect, but let me select this effect And you can see that I have control handles here visible on the canvas, and I can use them to modify the projected shadow. So some of the effects you apply on a layer will be it will be possible to modify some of their parameters directly from the canvas. Of course, it will work only for effects where it makes sense. So there are additional parameters here. You can see that I can increase the density and will change slightly, and so on. So this is not the only effect that can be controlled via these control points on the canvas. There are more and more. I will update the old effects to this new mode, but I wanted to show you another effect that was available in the past, in the current version. Let me show. So yes. And yeah, in the current version it was available as a plugin, and I will apply it as a layer style here. Maybe you have seen this plugin in the old version. It adds rays of light to your image. This is probably a bit better. So in the new version this is a layer style. In the old version it was an editing tool that was only available in when you are working with raster layers. The styles are available with any kind of layer. Big fan, Laserhead writes, big fan of your site, best cursors around. Thanks. So this is another effect that for which it makes sense to control it from the canvas. So what else? This is all work in progress, but for those interested, I will show you, provide you a link to this preview version, and you can play with it as you want. So let's look at some more images. Maybe let's look at this. And here I'd like to show you one of the new layer styles, and that is symmetry effect. When I turn it off, you can see that the lower part of the image disappears. The layer actually only contains the upper part of the image, and the symmetry effects adds the reflection. You have several modes how this can work. There is a rotation symmetry or line symmetry. When I switch, it will look like this. And the rotation symmetry also can have variable order. So when I type 3 here, it will rotate the image 3 times, and I can somehow improve this a bit. So for this it doesn't make much sense to repeat the item 3 times, but for some other things you might want to draw, it makes sense to, for example, make it, oh, that's a little too much. So, for example, when you are doing a cursor for moving, then the one with the 4 arrows, you can only draw one arrow and let this effect just replicate the one arrow in other directions. So this is also all work in progress. You can also apply more than one symmetry, and that can be quite funny. So you can control the center of the symmetry and what part of the image is replicated. What else is new? Let's look quickly at these two menus. These contain the effects you can apply to a layer. So previously this opened a window where you could configure the effect, and when you clicked OK, it was applied. Now the menu just adds a layer style to the currently selected layer. So if I click on glow, it will add the glow effect to this layer, and you can see I can control it, and it just works. So, and you can remove it at any time, and of course the layer is editable all the time, and when I start to edit it, it will apply all the effects that are currently active. And almost every effect that is available in the whole application can be applied as a layer style. I can try some random things. This is a contour gradient. That means that the shape is filled depending on how far from the edge the pixel is. You can add something like this. So, and of course everything is still working as you would like to see. So what else do we have? These are some old examples. Maybe we can look at this. It just demonstrates what happens when you add various styles to the image. So this is all I wanted to show you today. Or yeah, there are more things that changed. For example, there is support for notebooks which support touch sensitivity in the new build. What else? It's mostly just this layer panel. You can also rearrange these effects by dragging and dropping them. You can drag and drop layers from and into a group. For example, you can take this flower and drop it somewhere here or maybe here. So you can rearrange everything. Oh, let me show you all the extras that the splash can have. So I'm mostly here to answer your questions and listen to your requests. I'd like to do these streams like every month or maybe twice a month, and I'd like you to test all the new things and tell me whether you find them useful or what else you would like to see in the application. So what I've read some comments on the web, and someone requested more wizards for the cursor editor, and certainly that is possible. Maybe in the next stream we can focus on the cursor editor and check what changes specific to cursors will be there. So, does anyone have any questions? If not, then I will end the stream and I will post a link to the from what you can download this version and play with it on my blog on the RW Designer web. One warning, if you create something in this new version, I do not guarantee that it will work in the final version. So use it mostly for testing, not for some critical work. What type of question can we ask? You can ask anything and I will answer if it's appropriate. So maybe one of the changes for the cursor editor will be and it will support vector layers, because I think they can be useful when designing cursors. I'd like the quality of the cursors on the web to go up, and if you start to use cursor vector layers, I believe the quality will go up. So will the website have a more modern look, or will it stay the same retro look? That's a good question, but I can do only one thing at a time. I can work on the design and functionality of the website, or I can work on the software. Eventually, I'd like to update the website, but bigger priority is supporting HTTPS secure connections, so that you do not see all the warnings in your web browsers that the connection is not secure, and so on. There was one question, but it was removed before I managed to read it. Phantom says hello. Add features to letters and text on RealWorld Paint. What do you mean add features to letters? What exactly would you like me to add? So we can look at maybe how this effect was added or created. So this is, when I look simply on this layer, it just says RealWorld. It's a simple text with this font, and it has the following effects added. Another question. Hello. Are you going to make any more cursor tutorial videos? Well, maybe. What tutorial would you like to see? I can make tutorials, but I don't know what should I teach you in the tutorial. The application just does what it does, and I think the hardest thing about cursors is to just find a good theme and that fits on the cursor. Hello, Fixin says hello. So I was talking about these text effects. You can see that how it transformed from simple text. First I used the outline effects to make it bolder. Then I added a gradient. You can see the gradient here. It changes when I change it. Let's make it like this. Then I added a bevel effect. Then I added another outline to make the edges more apparent. And then I added a shadow. Will the software be open source too? I'd like to eventually make it open source, but it is a very old software. At this time I started in like some parts of the software, mainly the icon editor, are from the 1998 year, and even the newer parts are almost 10 years old, and it uses an old compiler or Visual Studio, and it needs to be cleaned up and modernized before I would feel comfortable to open sourcing it. So I think the core of the paint will be open sourced eventually, but it will take time. Yes, I am also the goal of open sourcing it is of course that more people can contribute easily. I have been thinking about the licenses, and I do not like the GPL licenses too much because they are restrictive, and maybe some parts of the icon editor or the cursor editor will not be open sourced. That parts that are very specific to icons or cursors, but the core of the application will be open sourced. Will there be a report button that makes it so that you can report other users for inappropriate comments? Stolen sets. So if I added a report button, then I would have to check every report and act. It was in the past I tried to check every comment that was posted on the site and delete the inappropriate comments, but I can only do so much. As the site became more popular, the amount of comments increased too much, and I just gave up. But I am not sure whether there will be a report button. You can always send a PM to me if you find something very offensive, unbearable, and I will delete it. More likely it will be that I will give authors, the set creators, the ability to delete anonymous comments from their sets. Maybe I will even disable anonymous comments, but I like it that any visitor can just say what how they liked your set without the need to register. And well, let's see. Just contact me when you find something really offensive. So, hello Brazilian students who use the free version. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thanks for the hard work. So, I'm glad that you use the software. The more people use it, the happier am I. Could you add a filter to the comment box? What do you mean, a filter to the comment box? Like not allowing some specific words to be typed and posted. I think this filter may already be there. But people can easily work around it. You can also always add a space or underscore in the middle of the word, and it's just an automated software and a simple automated function cannot defeat a real troll. There is always another possibility how to express something inappropriate. Google can do this with their resources, with the artificial intelligence, but I cannot. It seems easy, but if you don't want to restrict users too much, I can also make it so that the anonymous comments will disappear, for example, after 1 month, unless a registered user presses a like or something like that. It's a possibility. I'm not sure whether that will be good or not. That will require, for example, the creators of the sets or administrator or anyone on the web to check the comments and like them or not. Changing the web is hard because simple solutions often do not work. The current state is not ideal, but I think it's just easy to accept that some people are trolls and they will post offensive things or something like that. But it's just how the world is. No one can protect you from, or no one can effectively protect you from this. Sooner or later you will run into a troll and you will have to deal with it. So, any more questions? So I think maybe the next stream will make this next stream in 2 weeks, and that will be focused on the cursor editor. I will finish some things for it, and we will make it a bit tutorial. And by the way, I have been looking into the cursors folder on Windows 11, and there are some SVG files. So maybe we will have vector cursors in the future. And one more thing I didn't mention is that I want to improve the SVG support in the new version. I can probably show you some things. There are some testing data that I've been using. So there will be support for importing SVG files. So let's try some of them. They are usually very simple. It doesn't work very well. There is the SVG format is pretty complicated. I don't know which of them are good. Let's look at Cartman then. So this is an SVG file, and you can edit it in the. You will be able to edit SVG files in the new version. Not everything will be imported. There are problems with texts, and I had to change how I handle the outlines. You can see that there are some new buttons here. When I enable the outline for Cartman's eyes, we now have the possibility to control where the outline is positioned. It can be outside of the drawn shape, centered, or it can be outside. And you can also control whether this maybe just increase the resolution. You can control how the edges are handled. Now we have round edges, and we can change it so that this is because SVG uses a different way how to place the outlines than the current version of the paint. What are those weird looking software icons on your taskbar? Weird. So you can Internet Explorer, that is weird. Chrome, Firefox, Alt Media Player, these are all these four are the RealWorld editors. Cursor editor, this is new icon for the icon editor. This is the RealWorld designer icon. That is the all-in-one package. It is an image, cursor, and icon editor all in one. that was never released because it's pretty complex, and I'm not sure whether people would like to use that. This is a real-world robot, an unreleased, unfinished project that is for batch processing of files. It's basically this, but it is supposed to work from Windows Explorer. For example, let me show you. Let's find some example file, PNG. So it adds this menu to Windows Explorer, or you can, for example, resize the right-clicked file. It shows this window, and here is the result. It's the resized file. So this is the alt icon editor icon. This is RealWorld Photos, and there's a very different version of RealWorld Paint. And this is the streaming software. You know the others. So some of the SVG files are pretty wild. I don't know how the people were able to create them. This isn't imported completely as it should. This is wrong. I don't know why, but I'll have to investigate. And also effects or styles are not properly imported. I will eventually try to import some of the SVG styles, for example blur. This should be blurred. Where is the blur? Maybe. Much. Yeah, so could we get your Discord maybe? My Discord. Can you see my number? You can, I will post my Discord. Let's see, on my profile on the web. So I think we have done enough today. See you in 2 weeks or so. So have a good time.